Alright, so I want to start off with this Roquan Smith to the Ravens trade. The Ravens for me get a B+, and the Bears get a B. Now, when we're looking at this trade, obviously the Ravens got Roquan Smith, the Bears got a 2nd round pick, a 5th round pick, and linebacker AJ Klein. Now, when we're looking at this trade for the Bears, they get a B for me, not a B+, not anything like that. Just because, look, they got a 2nd round pick in this trade, and they would end up trading another 2nd round pick for Chase Claypool. First off, I don't even think Chase Claypool is worth a 2nd round pick, but it's basically like you traded Chase Claypool for Roquan Smith, and now that you traded your extra 2nd round pick away, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But hey, they dumped off salary, they won't have to pay Roquan Smith all the money that he wants, and they will have a ton of cap space in the offseason. So it is kind of a good trade for them. But in terms of picks, I just don't get what they were doing. But when we're looking at the Ravens in this trade, look, they got Roquan Smith. You get a star player, which is why this is a B+ for them. When you look at the Ravens linebacking core, they kind of needed Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith is a player who can do every single thing at that linebacker position. But here's my thing, and what is really worrisome for me about this trade. How in the world are they going to pay Lamar Jackson? That is my question, because they're going to have to pay Roquan Smith a lot of money. They're just going to have to do it. Knowing they're at this point obligated to pay Roquan Smith because they gave up a 2nd round pick, how are you going to give Lamar Jackson the money that he wants? That is my question. We already know that the Ravens have been picky about what they want to pay Lamar and just paying him what he's worth. But now the fact that you have an extra mouth to feed, you have more money that you have to give out, it's going to make you even more picky and more reluctant to not give Lamar Jackson all the money that he really does want right now. So yeah, getting Roquan Smith is great for this defense. It's going to make that linebacking room better. You're going to have more plays made for yourself on defense because you traded for one of the best linebackers in the NFL. But for me, this doesn't cross like that A- or A threshold, just because I just don't think the Ravens had their priorities straight when going to the table and making this trade. So when we look at the fact that Baltimore gave up a 2nd round pick and an additional 5th, you cannot just trade those things and just have Roquan Smith around for 9 games, then let him walk in free agency. You don't do that. When you give away a 2nd round pick, really, and a 5th, you're trading away your future. And you don't trade away your future for 9 games of Roquan Smith. So when you trade away a 2nd and a 5th, you're trading for Roquan Smith in the sight of having him around for a long time on this Ravens team. And to have him around for a long time, they're going to have to pay him all that money that Roquan Smith wants. So when you know you're going to have to pay Roquan Smith all that money, knowing you're also really obligated into really paying him that money, how in the world are you going to pay Lamar Jackson? How in the world? I just don't think that the Ravens had their priorities straight when they were going to the trade talk table and really making this trade. Or maybe they do let Roquan Smith walk after trading away their future. That would be dumb too. They've really put themselves in a really hard situation here to deal with. And secondly, why do the Ravens trade or pick up players that are everything but an elite wide receiver for Lamar Jackson? Why did they not do that? Tell me why the Ravens always get everything but a wide receiver for Lamar Jackson. This is why I say the Ravens have their priorities messed up. Now look, they did get a very good player for giving up a 2nd round pick, a 5th round pick, and AJ Klein, who really isn't that good of a linebacker as I've heard. So look, they gave away good compensation for what they're getting in Roquan Smith. So it is a fair trade. They're getting an all-pro linebacker who can quite literally do everything on the field. But in the future, the Ravens are going to have a really big debacle in terms of who they're going to pay, especially because they've been picky about what they're going to pay Lamar Jackson. This is going to make them even more picky just because they have more money to give out to other spots on this team that they're really obligated to paying. So I'll give the Ravens a B+, and I'll give the Bears a B. So I think the Ravens win this trade, but they still have some things to deal with and work out with.